Good evening. Welcome to our board meeting. The agendas are posted around the room, as you can see, even on this small screen behind us. We welcome you to a brand new year, not for school, but calendar year. So welcome to 2023. We start our meeting off with a musical performance from the Weber High Trumpet Trio, performed the national anthem, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Joe Windsor, the band leader. So, Mr. Windsor, please. After they are done with their trumpet trio, Matthew Eldridge would then lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. We'll go to there. Mr. Windsor, please. Please.
What we have from Weber High School we started a new club called what are we calling it again? The Bugle Corps, the Trumpet Bugle Corps. And these are our kind of three officers. We have Ricky Matheson in the middle, Jacob Lucas on your left, and Matt Eldridge here, and they're going to play the national anthem for you. They've done us at a couple games, and we just think it'll be kind of fun for you to hear them.
And we'd like to notice Miss Ernest, the principal. Please raise your hand, Miss Ernest. There we go. Weber High School principal. Gentlemen. Job well done. Let's give him another round of applause. Do you have a second number you could do for us? Apparently not. Well, the next item on our agenda is the oath of office for board members. For those of you who are unaware, we had an election in November, and Board member Jan Burrell, Bruce Jardine, Janice Christensen all was re-elected, and board member Dean Oborn chose not to rerun, and we have our new member Kelly Larson who has joined us. So with that, we need to swear them in, and I would ask them if they would join me in the front. Get your arms to square there, Robert tells me. All right, that's pretty good. I've got this in short. Please repeat after me. I. State your name, please. Do solemnly swear. That I will support. Obey and defend. The Constitution of the United States. And the Constitution of Utah. And that I will discharge. The duties of my office with fidelity. Congratulations. what we'd like to do is have Superintendent Butters just do a little bio on our new board member, Kelly. So, Superintendent, please.
Welcome, Kelly, officially. Nice to have you here. Kelly Larson joins the Weber School Board representing precinct number 1, which comprises all of Pleasant View and portions of Plain City, Far West, Harrisville, and North Ogden. Mrs. Larson graduated from Brigham Young University with a BA in Humanities and minored in Business Management. She graduated magna cum laude. So we've got a smart one right here. She has been very active in the PTA or PTSA in all of her children's schools for over 10 years. Mrs. Larson has served as PTSA president at Weber High and Orion Junior High, the Weber Council PTA president for 3 years, Region 2 PTA secretary, treasurer, and legislative specialist. Currently, she is a member of the Utah PTA Legislative Advocacy Committee and Education Commission. She also served a 2-year term on Weber High's Community Council. Kelly Larson grew up in California. She has 2 younger sisters. She's been married for 24 years to Wade Larson, who is a proud graduate of Weber High School. They have 4 children: Seth, who graduated from Weber High in 2020, Ella, who graduated last spring in 2022 from Weber High, Drew and Kate, who are current Weber School District students. Welcome to the Weber School Board of Education, Kelly Larson.
Kelly, would you like to introduce who's here with you, please?
So I have my husband, Wade Larson, so Wade. My kids, Seth and Ella, who both graduated Weber High. You guys can wave. My son Drew is like probably parking. He goes to Weber High. My daughter Kate right here, she goes to Orion Junior High. And then my in-laws are behind them, Craig and Carol Larson. They did not go to Weber High, but they graduated for Weber High children.
Well, welcome. We welcome you to our board. The next item on the agenda is the election of board president and board vice president. For those who are unaware, every 2 years we elect a president and a vice president of the board, and with Mr. Oborn choosing to spend more time at home and not rerunning, it creates that vacancy. I've served for the board president for the last 5 years, and before we go into this election, I would just like to kind of explain one thing. I've thoroughly enjoyed serving as the board president of the Weber School District and working close with the superintendent and all the directors in the district. However, about 8 months ago, I received a promotion within my office at the State Fire Marshal's office, and that obligation has taken me away from positions that require presence of the Weber School Board president, such as graduations. I've been in meetings in St. George with the governor, other retirement party issues, and meetings that are just critical to that respect for that president's position. And so I've asked to step back from the board president and give somebody else the opportunity to fill that. And so by no means is there any contention amongst us. I love every one of these board members and continue to work with them. I will still be a board member and serve wherever they need me. So having said that, I'm going to entertain a motion for nominations for board president of the Weber School District Board of Education.
President, I would like to nominate Mr. Paul Widdowson, president, and would wholeheartedly back him.
I'll second that nomination.
Okay, we have a nomination and a second. Do we have any others? Having said that, I'd entertain a motion to accept Paul Widdowson, Roy High graduate, as the new board president. All in favor?
Aye.
By acclamation. Thank you, Mr. Hurst. With that now, Mr. President, I hope you'll let me open nominations for Weber School District Board Vice President.
I'd like to nominate John Ritchie for Vice President. In fact, I just did.
Yes, you did. You did.
I really did.
And I will second that.
Mr. Widdowson, second that. Do I have any other nominations? What's the word? Yes, by acclamation, I see that. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. I will just move one seat to the right. Mr. Widdowson, it's your meeting. Thank you.
You're brave.
I got a Diet Coke right here. Should just kind of slide down, please. No, we need to.
You better take your name with you.
I'll show how that works. There you go. We're in good hands.
Well, I'm close enough to both of them that they can just give me a little nudge if we need to get back online here.
You know what I might recognize? Is this on? This is on now. Deb, Paul's wife, is here. Where did she slip out? Oh, she's right there.
right there.
Deb, wave. She will support Paul in this new calling, in this new position. So thank you, Deb, for being here. And we also have Representative Christensen with us. Well, Senator.
Former
Representative, Senator, how about retired? Janice's husband's with us. Do we have any of the other board members? I'm sorry, Mr. President.
Oh, you're good.
All right, it's yours.
Okay. Well, let's see, for the first order of business, I'd entertain a motion to accept the consent calendar. So moved by Doug, seconded by Bruce. Any comments on that, board? If not, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed to that? Wonderful, thanks. On to the next items. Do we want to? Who's this one? Oh, okay, this group. Okay, let's have a presentation. Who's from the International Science and Engineering Fair students? Maggie. And this should be interesting, if it's not over our heads.
So I'm Maggie Huddleston. I work in curriculum, taking care of all things science and lots of things STEM. I have the awesome opportunity to work with kids like these students. We have a program in our district where we run science fairs at individual schools, and then those schools send kids to our district fair, and from the district fair, we get to send students to our international science fair. Last year, it was in Atlanta. I was going to say Georgia. It is Atlanta. In Atlanta, and we sent 4 students with a couple of teachers, and they got to go and compete for almost $8 million of scholarships and prizes. It's one of the biggest events for science students in the world. So we're very proud of the kids that were able to go. I have 2 of those projects that are here. They're going to give you a lickety-split fast description of what they did for their projects to knock your pants off. Here they go.
Hey, so I'm Jack Wadsworth, and this is my partner Luke. Me and Luke have been friends since we're like 7 years old, something like that, through athletics and stuff like that. So we decided to go ahead and make this project together. The project is about golf, specifically putting. And the reason we decided to do this project was really because we would hit a lot of putts. We felt like they were hit good, they'd hit the hole, and they would not go in. And so we felt like, why not see if there's a scientific way where we can make more putts. And so this project is actually 2 separate projects. There's one project that's testing the flag stick itself and whether it's better to keep that in while you putt or take it out when you putt. And then we're also testing the golf balls. We're testing the golf balls based on their compression to see if that affected it bouncing off the pin. And what we found was that we found that makes out of 50 with the flag stick in, the putts would go in more often than not if the putt was hit particularly hard. And then we also found that as the compression goes up, as you can see with this red line, the makes go down. And so we found that a lower compression ball really helped when you're hitting it against a pin. We didn't use any human error in this because we weren't actually putting it ourselves. We constructed a ramp and so we were able to get really consistent data in that way. Got anything to say, Luke?
So just for the people who don't know what golf compressions are, so golf compressions are just like when you hit the ball like on a full swing, it's how much the ball like compresses down like on the club face. So a really hard ball compared to like a really soft squishy ball. So I just wanted to clarify that the softer ones went in more. And then we also tested the ball hitting the center of the flag stick and also hitting the side of the flag stick, and we found that with the flag stick out of the cup, that when it hit the side of the cup or the middle, it would pop out of the cup. It would like hit the lip and pop out. And then we found that when the flag stick was in, it would use it as a backboard, and it would hit off the pin and then drop in. So that's just kind of what the two experiments were, and I think that's it. That's all I got.
Yeah, so we can apply this project in a lot of ways, specifically with golf. I mean, when you're a professional and you're playing for millions upon millions of dollars, every stroke counts. So we just thought this would be a good way for all golfers of all levels to improve their games a little bit without even having to go to the range at all. So, yeah, that's our project.
Any questions for
I do. Do you guys play golf?
We do, yeah.
I've seen you both in the newspaper, just so you know.
Yeah,
I'm
we
sure I'll
play
see
golf.
you- I'll watch you on Sunday shortly.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
Well, first, congratulations. Nice job.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
And did it lower your scores?
Yeah, it definitely helped having that knowledge for sure.
I could have used that about 3 years ago.
Right, yeah.
Yes, I do. Date about.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you have any ability to change the rules of golf so you can use a high compression ball off the tee to go further? And once you get on the green, you can go to the low compression ball to help.
Unfortunately not. So, yeah, you have to use one ball per hole. So, that's.
Did you not say you went to the national? You should be able to present that to somebody.
Yeah, we should try to find that. Get that to someone.
Mr. Hurst is a golfer. Would you just tie in with him?
I mean, you can do it when we play. I don't care.
It's your mulligan.
Compression ball, when John hits a window, it doesn't break it.
Yeah,
Only once.
that's our next test. More questions? Yeah.
Just a curiosity question. This may or may not have anything to do with your project. What are the signatures on your board there?
This is my signature, and this is Luke's
See, that's
signature.
them.
We hung it up in our teacher's classroom. And we just signed it.
Well, yeah, we got back from the science fair. We're just like, hey, so we just got back from the science fair. And we're like, we don't need this. So our teacher was like, all right, well, I'm just gonna keep it in my room. Like, well, can we sign it and hang it up? So it was like the last day of school, and we just signed it. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Very good.
That's Mr. Rob Riley at Fremont, by the way. Fremont this last year sent almost 200 projects to science fair. So their science department really kicked it into gear and are giving these kids a great opportunity. So while they are clearing theirs away, and we're going to pull this next one out. Thank you. You want to give them a round of applause? Appreciate them coming. And one of the reasons why I love their project is because it's something they were passionate in. And science is everything. It's music, it's golf, it's things that explode, it's everything. And when we can get kids excited about what they do, and they can run experiments like that, it just makes it fun for everybody. This is Miss Radel, and she is from Weber High School. And she was one of our projects that went to ISEF as well, and I'm going to turn the time over to her.
Hello, I'm Elise from Weber High, and my project was the comparative analysis of the effectiveness of polyethylene, cetyl alcohol, and shade balls in preventing evaporation of water and its effect on water quality. So I've been doing this project for the last 3 years, and so far I've been testing shade balls, which they are 4-inch plastic balls that are placed on reservoirs to shade the water and prevent evaporation. And so in the past, I've tested different colors and amounts. I've tested them against a fatty alcohol called cetyl alcohol that's also supposed to help prevent evaporation. And then this last year, I wanted to test a new variable, so I started testing polyethylene coverings, which this is a picture of what those would look like on a reservoir. And so, as you know, evaporation is a really big problem since we're in such a drought and it's so hot, especially here in Utah. That's a really big problem. And so I'm trying to figure out the best way to prevent evaporation along with keeping the water quality safe so that aquatic animals would be able to live in it and we're able to drink the water. And so I did 2 different trials where I was testing the amount of evaporation that occurred with, I used white plastic balls because that's what I found worked the best in the past for the shade balls, and then I used acetyl alcohol and then 3 different thicknesses of the polyethylene covering. And I let them sit for a week and then another 3 days, so 10 days in all. And I tested the amount of evaporation along with different water quality factors. And in the end, I found that the thickest layer of polyethylene was the most effective at preventing evaporation, and it sustained the water quality. And so, in conclusion, this is just so applicable because water is like the most important resource we have, and it's important that we save it as much as possible. And using coverings like this, we can increase the amount of water we have in the future. Do you have any questions?
I do. What's the cost comparison of those 3? Do you know?
Acetyl alcohol really didn't work that well at preventing evaporation, but as far as the shade balls and the polyethylene is much more cost effective, and it seemed to work better if it was one of those thicker polyethylene coverings.
Thank you.
Yes.
What's the commercial large-scale application of this? Thinking of the Great Salt Lake, which we heard in the news is shrinking considerably. We need to do things to save it. Is it possible to use this on a large scale like that?
There actually are some reservoirs in California that have the shade balls on them right now. There's a picture right here of 96 million of them on a reservoir in California. And there's lots of different reservoirs that are using the polyethylene coverings as well. And so it's being used on a large scale already.
Have you been following that Great Salt Lake project?
Not really. I'll have to look into it.
What's the cost difference between the balls and the whole sheet? Do you know that?
I don't know exactly, but I know with the balls, some people have proved that the amount of water that goes into making them and like the money with that is about equal to what is saved, whereas the polyethylene is a lot more effective that way.
Very cool.
Uncovering and covering the reservoirs also keep the birds off, which that's our drinking water and keeps the bird feathers out.
Yeah, that's the original purpose of the shade balls before the evaporation. It was because there were birds in the water, and that's the first reason that they were invented.
Yeah, very good.
Thank you.
Wonderful job.
So superintendent, members of the board, we have kids that are going to change the world and teachers that are affecting those kids, and I just can't be prouder to work for Weber School District and the amazing things that we're doing. So thank you for your time.
Great, thank you. On to our next item, Superintendent Butters.
Yes, great board. I'd like to ask Jennifer Boyer-Thurgood, Dr. Thurgood, to come up, stand right over here by the mic, and also Casey Dowpass, come on up. We have been, as you know, board going through a reorganization of our tech services leadership in that department, and because of the timing of the former director's retirement and just the expertise, the great candidates that we had interview for the directorship, we decided to do something a little bit outside of the box. And so let me just quickly explain to the guests here tonight. We're going to ask Dr. Thurgood. She has been in an interim supervisory position since August in our tech services department. We're going to ask Jennifer to take on the interim directorship for the rest of the remainder of the year. And there's a twofold reason for that. Number one, she's done an outstanding job leading this department through some duress. And secondly, we, as you know, we will be going through an SIS adoption process, an implementation process, and Jennifer has been instrumental in that process, and we want to have her help us see that through the end of the year. So tonight, we don't formally need to approve Jennifer in this role. It is an interim directorship role. We will open up the directorship role in March and name a director for the following school year. With the board's great support, however, we've got a twofer here. We were able to bring aboard an assistant director of our tech services department, and we got a gamer. He's a good one, and we're so excited. I'd like to introduce Casey to you. What I thought we would do is, with your approval, if you wouldn't mind circling back, President Whittison, then I could tell you a little bit more about Casey. But Casey Dalpius, I propose to you that we approve him as our new Assistant Director of Technology.
Okay. Board, we need a motion on that position for Casey Dalpius. If someone would like to make the motion, Janice?
I'll second that.
Second, Jan, thank you. Any discussion on that? Questions? All in favor of that?
Aye.
Any opposed to that?
President, do we have his pronunciation of his name correct?
No, we're a little bit all over the page.
It's Dalpass.
Dalpass.
Yeah.
Dalpass.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
We
It's
gotta
okay.
clarify that.
We'll clear that up. All right.
Mr. Dalpass.
All right. Are you okay if I go ahead and
Yes,
introduce him
go
to?
ahead.
All right. Casey Dalpass earned his Associates of Science from Weber State University, his BS of Science Technology from Western Governors University, and his Master of Science Security and Assurance from Western Governors University. He's a homegrown product of Weber School District, graduating from Fremont High School in 2003. I just dated you right there, Casey. Casey spent 14 years working in our tech services department in various roles, and I might add in almost every role possible in tech services. He worked in the warehouse, manned the help desk, worked in the roles of user support specialist, district technician, and systems engineer. For the past 4.5 years, he has worked as a physical security network engineer for CompuNet. Casey lives with his wife, Natalie, and their 4 children in Hooper, Utah. Casey and Natalie are proud to be from Weber County and both attended Weber County schools. 2 of their kids are Hooper Mustangs and 2 are Rocky Mountain Grizzlies. With 4 busy, active kids, Casey and Natalie can most often be found cheering from the sidelines. Their family likes to camp, hunt, play basketball, volleyball, baseball, swim, and ski. They are involved in 4-H and are currently raising steers and goats to show at the Weber County Fair. Casey and Natalie are both woodworking hobbyists. Casey, welcome to Weber School District.
I'd just like to thank the board and Superintendent Butters for this opportunity. I'm very excited. It feels like I'm coming home. I'm very excited to be back, and excited to lead the technology department into the future. We have a lot of great techs, and that I still have relationships with a lot of them, and great employees in the department, and I'm excited to help them reach their potential and get tech services to be the service department it can be for the district. I'm very excited. So thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Sorry. This is my wife always gets mad at me for not introducing her. This is my wife, Natalie. And my... Oh, yeah, stand up. And then we've got one of my Hooper Mustangs, Hank. And then we got Benson. He goes to Rocky Mountain. He's in 9th grade, and Hank's in 2nd grade. I shouldn't have done this. No, I should have started that. And then we've got Jack over here. He's in 5th grade at Hooper. And then we have Molly, and she's in 7th grade at Rocky Mountain.
Thanks. If you've forgotten what grade they're in, we won't ask you when your anniversary is. Thanks. Let's move on to the next, the approval of the new SIS system. Sherry Hyder, Jennifer, and Nick.
Superintendent, President Whittison, Board, That's going to take a minute to get used to saying, right? That's awesome.
Just board's okay.
I love it. I love it. We are so excited to be at this juncture in time. It has been an extremely busy couple of months getting to this point, but we have a recommendation for our student information system ready for you tonight. Wanted to just walk through a couple of things and share with you some background information so you'll know how we came to the decision that we did, and then at the end we'll just ask for your approval. So as you know, phase one, we wrote the request for proposals, the RFP. We did the committee reviews, starting with tech services, and then with our larger committee, and board member Burrell served on that with us. We did the vendor presentations. We had open houses. It was very busy November 18th. Then we moved on to phase two. In phase two, the vendors submitted their cost proposals. We had lots of back and forth meetings with them, 3 face-to-face, multiple phone and video meetings and so forth with them to get their best and final offers so that we could get the best deal for our district and the best product, right? And then phase three, this is starting this evening. We'll give our recommendation to you as far as which product we've chosen as best for Weber School District and the students and staff. We would move forward to the contract review and signing, and then begin implementation, which will be a robust schedule to get that ready to go for a drop dead date, 1st of July. So that's a robust schedule. As you remember, we actually received 6 responses. 2 were eliminated right out of the gate because they didn't meet the requirements of our RFP. After the evening on November 18th, based on the committee recommendations, we were able to eliminate 2 further. The 2 that moved forward were EduPoint or Synergy and Power School, and they moved forward into the 3rd round, if you will. If you take a peek at the bottom, these were just the initial rankings of the products after the committee met with the vendors and had done the initial investigations into the products and the review of their platforms. So, I mean, you can tell that EduPoint or Synergy was quite high there, and Power School was 2nd. And it's very clear that the other 2 vendors didn't meet the needs of what we would like, you know, with all of the different user groups, counselors and nurses and teachers and administrators and parents moving forward. So as we take a peek at it, just so that you can kind of see where we were at, a little over 86% of our respondents ranked EduPoint or Synergy as either 1 or 2. You can see Focus School and Infinite Campus, and then Power School, almost 78% of our respondents ranked that as either is in one of the top 2 spots. So that was great, and that's not a huge difference between the 2 products. So the most important things we were looking for, and of course in the RFP, one of the largest factors was we wanted something that had a strong track record in Utah. So performance in Utah, so that we knew that it integrated with the various systems that we use in Utah for assessment and for sharing data with the state office and so forth. And so that was a huge thing to us. In addition to just wanting the basic student information system to, you know, build schedules and track attendance and grading and so forth, one of the most important things we've wanted to do is have a solid way, a data dashboard, to visualize our various sources of data so we know where students are at any point in time, and we know students who might need some extra support and service. We also were looking for a system that supported multi-tiered systems of support. A behavior management, that is a huge area of focus for us. We also needed something that gave us a strong way to communicate with our families, you know, our parents and guardians and the students themselves. In addition, we wanted an early warning system that quickly identified students who were perhaps off track for graduation or who were, you know, going to lose attendance credit, something of that nature, so that we were able to jump in quickly and support those students before it got to a point where, you know, kids were in trouble. And then one piece that became a little bit more apparent later on, we had put it in the nice to haves, but it sure will be a helpful thing, a secure way to share student documents that we want to protect that confidentiality, right? And have digital signing. And the product that we will recommend to you does have that included in the final bid. EduPoint provided this document for us. You will notice that EduPoint has an awful lot of lines there right in the middle. What they did in their best and final offer is they broke down every little piece and listed it out. When we look at the next product, they did not do that. It was all included in their base product. So just because there's not as many lines that you'll see listed, all of those pieces are still included in the product. They just didn't break them out in their cost proposal. So term one, we had some negotiation back and forth on this. This actually will be the signing of the contract till December 31st of this year. So we won't run academic years, we'll run calendar years, which I think will align a little bit better with how we're going to move this into implementation. So term two would actually be next January 1 to December 31st. So a little bit wonky there, but you will notice that the prices do go up each year. There is a 3% increase, kind of like we would get a cost of living. It's their increase for, you know, what their support and software and so forth would cost. So you'll notice that we're looking at just over $560,000 per year by the time that we hit the 6th year. Okay, and you can see all of the things that would be included there, you know, even down to the cloud hosting. In the first year, there is some training that is involved that they broke out quite nicely. So, and I think the thing that is so important in this whole process, either one of the two products that we got down to, so EduPoint Synergy and PowerSchool, were both excellent solutions and will be a really nice next step after we've had our amazing My Student working for nearly 20 years. And I think this will take us to the next level. But either one of them would have been great. There were just a few factors that came into play that we'll talk about. So this was the initial, oh dear. Should we worry? Hey, thanks. That was magic, right? So this was PowerSchool's best and final. You'll notice that term 6, it is slightly higher price. Again, don't worry that we're missing some lines there. Everything is included. You'll notice that, again, there is a very strong MTSS, so that multi-tiered systems of support that was so important to us is included in that. The risk analysis is when we talked about an early warning system, that's what we're talking about there. You see the training and so forth. Again, the terms are the same, January, whenever we sign the contract, to December 31st, and then that will be repeated each year. There is an uplift. You'll notice that 3% increase starting there in term 4. Now, the interesting thing about PowerSchool, there is a product that is included within PowerSchool that we would already be paying for that would replace Remind, so that communication device. That is $90,000 per year. However, we're kind of at an interesting juncture. We are now in the second of a 3-year contract with them. So we wouldn't actually be able to take that off the base price until the 3rd year of this. So what we did is we took, so you'll notice this is just a little bit higher than the previous. In this one, I actually took out the $90,000 that we would save with Remind. So you'll see now that by the time we make it out to that 6th year, it is substantially cheaper if you look at the fact that we don't need to pay for Remind anymore. The other piece that is kind of exciting, PowerSchool does have a feature that could potentially replace Panorama, which I know many of you have looked at before, but that's where we're getting some information about some of the emotional and mental wellness of our students, how connected they feel to the school and so forth. But this does potentially have a feature that would replace that, which would offer us an additional savings of $90,000 per year. So these were best and final offers. pretty much everything additionally to that is sixes. Couple of the things that we looked at. Again, in our RFP, when we sent that out, we really wanted that strong Utah presence so that we didn't have to worry about reconfiguring the way that, you know, our system talks to the state. And we also wanted to have colleagues within the state that we could lean on, right? And say, well, how did you use this? And how did you solve this problem? That was really big to us. The user support, one of the products obviously is offering a lot more in-person and video-based support, as well as that network of colleagues across the state of Utah that we can reach out to. Tech services, with all of the changes that have happened there, we just really felt that a product that was already well supported in Utah and had a strong user base already in Utah would really support our tech services folks as they've gone through a lot of changes over the past few months. And then the potential replacement of Remind and Panorama. So PowerSchool does have all of these features. EduPoint or Synergy did not have a way to replace Remind or Panorama at this point. So there's that $180,000 that we could potentially have as a cost savings. So at that point, with all of those factors considered, we would very much like to recommend to you that we move forward with a contract with PowerSchool to support us as an SIS moving forward. And we so appreciate, Nick, Jen, and I have really enjoyed this process, and we so appreciate the trust that has been placed in us to, to do the committee work, to do all of the background work with. Jen's done a great job with tech services, and Nick and his folks have looked into this for what's going to serve us the best. So it's been a wonderful process. We appreciate your trust and your involvement as well, and we would put forth the recommendation that we move forward.
Wonderful, thank you. And thank you for your time and putting that in and putting together a nice comprehensive outline for us. Sorry. And putting that outline together for us. So.
Absolutely.
Anything else?
No. Any questions?
No, I think I would just echo what you said, Sherry, about the three of you that have put time and effort into this. Appreciate the professionalism that you've analyzed these systems and make sure that in the long run, this district would be a beneficiary of what can take place with this student information system. So
thank you.
One of you.
If we can go 20 years, I think we're in good.
I agree. Absolutely.
Any other questions, board? Okay, after we've heard the presentation for the SIS system, I would accept a motion to move on that. Bruce?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Sean? Thank you. Those who are in favor of going forward, give me an aye.
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 Any opposed to that? Wonderful. Thank you. Our next item of business, Mr. Brock Mitchell.
President Whittison, Board, Superintendent Butters. I appreciate the opportunity. I know this recommendation is something that many of you will feel a part of because of your relationship with the members of this recommendation. So I wrote this down because I didn't want to leave anything out. So I apologize for spending the time reading this, but I think it's important to make sure that you feel the essence of this recommendation. School officials and community members for Roy High School have made the request to name the newly renovated Roy High School auditorium in honor of longtime Weber School District supporters Alan and Jeannie Hall. Alan and Jeannie have been fierce advocates for the schools of Roy City and all of Weber School District, believing that education opens the doorway to a brighter future and countless opportunities for personal growth. In one example of the vision of the halls, Alan and Jeannie, working alongside Roy Cohn administrators and Utah legislators, spearheaded the Roy Cohn Project to provide ongoing supplemental funding for the Cohn schools, beginning with a sizable contribution of their own. This generous leadway started a process over 8 years ago and continues to pay dividends today. This has allowed the schools of the Roy Cohn to offer resources to students and families that otherwise would not have been possible and are desperately needed. The result of this project includes increased graduation rates, higher student attendance, and ongoing support for families in the Cohn. The Halls have quietly made generous financial contributions to many schools in Weber School District and the Weber School Foundation. They provide resources for our students without ever looking for or wanting recognition, believing in silent generosity to move our district forward. They actually were not told about this because we were afraid they would squash this. So we wanted to get out ahead of this a little bit. It cannot be overstated that Alan and Jeannie are proud members of the Roy community. Their presence, support, and guidance have left a lasting impact. They are visible at many Roy High activities and support the students as individuals, wanting the best for each and every one of them. Alan and Jeannie are a powerhouse duo, many knowing that there is no Alan without Jeannie. Jan Burrell had a great saying. It was, Alan is the head and Jeannie is the neck, and the neck can turn the head any way she wants. It's inspiring to know how much support their support has positively impacted the Roy schools. When I was principal at Bonneville the last 4 years, I got to know Alan and Jeannie because of their grandchildren at Bonneville, and I called on them many times just to have conversations. And they helped guide me in some of the decisions I made, and they did it without ever asking questions. They truly just wanted to guide our school and our district leaders to make the best decisions for the students of our district. In accordance with Weber School District Policy 6600, a committee was formed comprised of the following members: Board Member Jan Burrell, Facilities Executive Director Larry Hadley, Principal Mike Martini, Assistant Principal Brenda Hart, Student Representative Zaira Correa, PTSA Representative Heidi James, Community Council Representative Matt West, Teacher Representative Nina Doxey, and Classified Staff Representative Ann Jackson. And per policy, I was the chair of that committee. After the committee met and discussed the immeasurable positive impact Alan and Jeannie Hall have had on Roy High School and the Roy Cohn, the community unanimously recommended that the auditorium at Roy High School be named in their honor. The committee worked through different options to recommend, including Alan and Jeannie Hall Auditorium, Alan and Jeannie Hall Family Auditorium, and Hall Family Auditorium. The committee settled on and requests board approval to formally name the Roy High Auditorium Alan and Jeannie Hall Family Auditorium. Thank you for your consideration. Any questions?
I have no questions, but I have a thought. Being a Roy High Royal and Mr. Widdowson, President Widdowson, you realize Alan Hall is a Ogden High Tiger, but he's really a Roy High Royal.
To the core.
I think it's very well deserved. I mean, when I was the fire chief in Roy, I worked with them on many occasions, and they were a silent partner, but extremely intelligent and very motivated to make sure kids were working well in more ways than one. So thank you, Mrs. Burrell, Board Member Burrell, for your work and the committee's suggestion. And it's a beautiful auditorium. I was just in there the other day for the Bar
D Wranglers.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Almost something anyway. And it was beautiful, so it's well deserved. So thanks, Brock.
Yes, sir.
Mr. President.
Thank you for the wonderful presentation. The Halls certainly have been generous and kind with the school, the district, and the community at large. So wonderful. We'll look for a motion to approve the naming of the Roy High Auditorium.
I'll make that motion.
Jan, and Bruce is a second. Any other comments? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Wonderful. Thanks again. Let's move on to the next item. The board meeting dates for the 23 and 24, Dr. Robert Peterson.
Thank you, President.
Mr. Doctor.
Mr. Doctor. It's that time of year where we set our calendar for the coming year, and then it's advertised properly so that we don't have to advertise it again, because it's already been advertised, on the board meeting dates. You were handed a schedule in your packet that has us meeting on the first Wednesday of every month, with the exceptions of April, because of spring break, so it's the second Wednesday, and the exception of June. The second Wednesday is our budget hearing, so we meet on it gives us more time to prepare the budget. And then we don't meet in July. Now, and then we approve this up to and including January of 2024. So it's the first, so next year at this time, we'll be approving a calendar for the coming year. Now, keep in mind that sometimes things shift. And if we do have to shift a meeting or two, we will properly advertise it and make that shift. But that's our recommendation, that we approve this calendar for the coming year so that it can be properly advertised.
Thank you. Questions or comments on that? We need to have a motion to approve that board meeting schedule. Janice, thank you. And a second?
I'll do that.
Jan. We'll get this right one day, won't we? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed to that? Thank you. Next item, again, Dr. Peterson, the consideration of a resolution to for the issuance and sale of not more than $110 million of general obligation school building bonds.
Thank you. As you know, over a year ago, on November 2nd, 2021, the voters of Weber School District, with a significant majority, approved the issuance of $279 million worth of bonds for 4 projects. Earlier in our study session, Executive Director Larry Hadley gave us kind of an update of where we're at on those projects. 2 are well underway. We're going to break ground on the 3rd, and a 4th will be after that. So we're very excited. Last year, about this time, we approved the issuance of $90 million of that $279 million authorization. We are coming to the board to approve a parameters resolution. This sets the guidelines around the issuance of those bonds. And we have a calendar here of kind of the main activities that are coming up. And provided your approval here of the parameters resolution, we will go through the rating process and with the rating agencies, and we hope to have a competitive sell on those bonds on February 23rd, and on March 14th, a bond closing, so that we can receive the money in our coffers so we can start paying for those projects. Keep in mind that should the market turn south really quickly and it wouldn't be advantageous to approve the bonds or sell the bonds, we can pull back. This does not bind us to selling the bonds. A parameters resolution just basically, you have to have it to sell the bonds though. So without this, we can't sell the bonds. And so we've done this many times before, and that, so I propose that we approve this parameters resolution. Now, we also have with us Matt Dugdale from Stiefel. He is our financial advisor, and we all know Matt. And then also Ryan Bierke. We all know Ryan. The two have been with us for a number of years. Ryan is our bond counsel with Chapman and Cutler. And Ryan's the guy who drafts all these documents. And so, but before I go on, as I'm reading this, Brian, we have to do a roll call vote when they approve this. Okay, all right. So we would propose that you would approve this after a motion and a second on a roll call vote.
Okay. Any questions for Dr. Peterson? We'd look for a motion to approve the resolution to issue the bonds.
I'll make that motion.
Jan, thank you. And a second for Bruce. Thank you. Dr. Peterson, roll call vote.
When I state your name, just say yes or no. Hopefully yes.
So can I just clarify,
Yeah.
this is a parameters resolution, is that
Correct.
correct? Okay.
Yep. Kelly Larson,
Yes.
Jan Burrell,
Yes.
Bruce Jardine,
Yes.
Janice Christensen,
Yes.
Douglas Hurst,
Yes.
John Ritchie,
Yes.
and Paul Whittison.
Yes.
Very good. It's unanimous, President.
Thank you, Dr. Peterson. Wonderful. It'll be exciting to get that new elementary started here in a couple of weeks and continue this project on. Thanks you too for everything you help us out with. Wonderful. Thank you. Next item, approval of the Weber County Pre-Disaster Mitigation Plan. Mr. Findley.
President Whittison, Board, this is actually a support resolution of the Weber County Pre-Disaster Mitigation Plan. You were presented with the document. Every 5 years, Weber County Emergency Management is required by the federal government to update their pre-disaster mitigation plan. That time is now for them to work on that update, and they've asked all stakeholders in Weber County, Weber School District being one of those, to support that update to the plan. And so this is basically a formality of the Board of Education supporting Weber County Emergency Management in the update of the pre-mitigation plan. What it does is it also makes us eligible for grant reimbursement through FEMA in case of a natural disaster. So with that, Robert, could you do a roll call for support? First of all, any questions?
Okay, let's do another roll call. Oh, do we need a motion?
first.
A motion and a second.
Let's have a motion for the approval of the pre-disaster mitigation plan.
Make a motion.
Kelly, thank you, and Doug, thank you. Now, Dr. Peterson, roll call vote, please.
Kelly Larson. Jan Burrell.
Yes.
Bruce Jardine.
Yes.
Janice Christensen.
Yes.
Douglas Hurst.
Yes.
John Ritchie.
Yes.
And Paul Whittison.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you, sir. Thanks, Mr. Findley. Next item, approval of the school calendar for the 2023-2024 in a first reading. Mr. Williams.
Superintendent Butters and President Whittison, welcome and congratulations. We been meeting quite a bit as a calendar committee for the Weber School District Calendar Committee, and we have a proposal for you tonight. The WSD Calendar Committee has met recently to consider several possible calendars for the school year of 23 and 24. School administration, district administration, parents, PTSA members, WEA members, classified employees and teachers were included and allowed to give input at that meeting. Additionally, these final calendar choices were sent to the schools and employee groups to allow them to obtain input and vote on the local level. Based on that input, the calendar committee would like to recommend to the board the attached 23-24 calendar option number 2 for consideration and approval on a first reading. Any questions about that?
Matt, why option 2?
We sent this out to all the principals, and as we received feedback from principals, it was about 76. We had 1,200 employees and people vote on it, and a little over 800 voted for option 2. I think there's many different reasons, and the hard thing is you can't please everybody. It's very difficult to do so when you look across elementary, junior high, high school, and all the needs there. But with about 76% voting for option 2, I think part of it's the start on Wednesday. Both of them end the same time. There were a couple differences when you looked at the placements of the comp days and those professional development days before the school year started, and so they kind of took that into consideration, and that's why number 2.
I'm okay, thanks. I just wanted an explanation.
Let me ask one more question. You
Please.
said we can never please everybody, which is absolutely right.
Yeah.
And this question's just a little off in the weeds, but go with me.
Okay.
Sometimes
Can't wait.
sometimes the little things are the big things.
Sure.
And there's this demographic in our district called grandparents that ask me all the time, why can't the school districts get the calendars coordinated so I only have to go to Disneyland once? Is there some coordination that happens between districts?
Yeah, great
on
question,
some
Paul.
of that?
I've talked with Davis and Ogden both, and even somebody from Box Elder. Not that Box Elder has a huge, but to try to align as much as we can, and it's difficult because of all the things that play into it.
Sure.
Davis District next year is starting a week earlier before us so that they can end first semester before Christmas break. And so, which was interesting. I sent out a survey in preparation for this to all of our employees, all of our parents, and we talked about starting times, and they highly recommended we start at the same time. And so that was interesting. But yeah, we talked to the different districts around to see if we could align as much as we can. The other breaks are similar, but fall break is different with Davis, but lines up with the other districts, along with the Christmas break and then spring break. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
I'll have an answer for them.
Okay.
I have
there
a
you go.
question.
Yes.
What was the feedback like? How many people, because I got the Google form on that calendar questionnaire. How
Yeah.
many responses did you get from parents?
About 6,000. That survey that went out towards the first of the year, and had some great feedback. Asked some questions that weren't necessarily just about the calendar, but some great questions, and got some great feedback that helped us drive the decision that we made. So.
Matt, does any of this have to do with our graduation and scheduling the event?
Some of it
center?
does, yeah. I talked to a parent this morning, actually, and was asking, why do we always end before Memorial Day? And one of the things that we look into is availability of the event center and graduation. So that's one of the factors, not the overriding factor, but something that we look into. So.
That would be a key item, though.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't make sense to end it, and then 2 weeks later in school, it becomes a waste at times for the secondary schools. So, good. Any
Thank
other
you.
questions?
We've pretty much worn you out.
Yeah, that's good. I didn't think I'd get this much airtime.
Thank you. Board, we've heard the first reading of the 2023-2024 school calendar. I'd look for a motion to approve that. Janice, and a second. John, thank you. All in approval? Aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Well, we stumbled through this one. Thanks. That concludes the items on our agenda. We appreciate everyone's attendance, and I would look for a motion to close the meeting.
So
Bruce.
moved.
Second.
Thank you. Jan, second. Thank you.
I know. I know.